For example number 6, part A, we want to find the 6 trigonometric functions for t is equal to 3 pi over 4. And we're going to do this by following the 3 steps listed above it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to graph 3 pi over 4. Because it's in terms of radians, I'm going to list my radians 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Now 3/4 of a pi is smaller than 1, so it's either going to be in quadrant 1 or 2. 3/4 is in between 1/2 and 1, so that means that 3 pi over 4 is over here in quadrant 2. So we're going to sketch a function, we're going to sketch an angle that looks a little bit like this. Now, after we're done sketching the angle, now we want to find the angle's reference angle. So let's discuss what the reference angle is that goes hand in hand with 3 pi over 4. So 3 pi over 4 takes us from here to here. And remember, the reference angle is the shortest distance to get back to the x-axis. And hopefully you can see that it's this little piece right here. Well, if I traveled over here 3/4 of a pi, we'll call it 3 pi over 4, and if I want to get to 1 full pi, which is what this distance is over here, get to the x-axis, hopefully you can see that we have a reference angle over here of pi over 4. So in regards to part 2, or the second part to finding the exact value of all the 6 trig functions, the reference angle is pi over 4. Now, remember the terminal point that's associated with pi over 4. Pi over 4 has a terminal point that's associated with it of square root of 2 over 2, comma square root of 2 over 2. So what this is telling us so far is that this ordered pair for on the unit circle right here is the square root of 2 over 2, comma the square root of 2 over 2. But, and now let's take a look at step 3. Step 3 tells us to find the exact value of all 6 trigonometric functions. Based on the quadrant that you're in, we have to change the signs of the reference angle. So because we're in quadrant 2, we know that the x values are going to be negative and that the y values are going to be positive. So we're going to leave that the y values alone. So what this is telling us is when we have t is equal to 3 pi over 4, when we have 3 pi over 4 radians, that the ordered pair on the unit circle in which it terminates is the same thing as saying negative square root of 2 over 2 and positive square root of 2 over 2. And this is the information that we need to know in order for us to find all of the 6 trig values. So let's find the 6 trig values that go hand in hand with this. Okay, so the sine of t, or in this case the sine of t is 3 pi over 4. So the sine of 3 pi over 4 is the y value of this ordered pair, and the y value of this ordered pair is is square root of 2 over 2. The cosine of 3 pi over 2, the cosine of 3 pi over 4 is the x value of this ordered pair, which is negative square root of 2 over 2. And the tangent of 3 pi over 4 is the y value divided by the x value, which is square root of 2 over 2 divided by negative square root of 2 over 2. Anything divided by itself is 1, and a positive divided by a negative is negative. So the tangent of 3 pi over 4 is negative 1. Now that we have the first 3 functions, the last 3 functions fall out naturally because we can just think of them now, and let's do this from now on. Let's think of them as being reciprocals. So if we know that the sine of 3 pi over 4 is equal to the square root of 2 over 2, well, the reciprocal of sine is cosecant. So the cosecant of 3 pi over 4 is the reciprocal of sine, which is 2 over the square root of 2. Keep in mind also that we talked about this in algebra, that this answer is not okay because we have a radical in the denominator, so it's not in simplified radical form. So remember, the quick trick to getting around that is we can multiply the numerator and denominator by the square root of 2 over 2, and we end up with 2 square root of 2 over 2. Right? The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, which is equal to 2. These 2's can cancel, and this is the same thing as saying the square root of 2. So the cosecant is the square root of 2. The cosecant, oh my goodness, of 3 pi over 4 is the square root of 2. So the secant of 3 pi over 4, now the secant goes with cosine, so we're going to take the reciprocal of cosine, and we get 2 divided by negative square root of 2, which I hope you can see is pretty much the same thing, except the answer is going to be negative, so we get negative square root of 2. For the tangent, the reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. The cotangent of 3 pi over 4 is x over y, or the reciprocal of negative 1 over 1, which is 1 over negative 1, which is equal to negative 1.